The alien vessel screamed through Earth's atmosphere like a falling star. Captain Thex-9 watched his control board light up with warnings, each one worse than the last. His ship was dying and nothing could save it now. "Main power is gone, Commander." His engineer's words came fast and shaky. "The hull is cracking open everywhere. Life support won't last much longer." Thex-9 closed all four of his eyes and made the hardest decision of his life. Abandon ship. Head for that blue planet below. We're crashing whether we like it or not. The planet spun beneath them, covered in water and green land. His people, the Zephyrians, had marked it as worthless long ago. The beings down there were backward and simple. They hadn't even learned to travel between worlds. They'd see his ship fall, but they'd never understand what they were looking at. The Void Whisper shrieked as it plunged toward the surface. The locals called this world Earth. Thex-9 felt the ship shudder and shake as they dropped like a stone. Through the window, he saw endless forests racing toward them. "Brace for impact," he shouted. The crash was brutal. Trees exploded into splinters as the massive ship carved a trench through the wilderness for miles. It finally stopped in a valley surrounded by mountains. Smoke poured from holes in the metal skin. The once beautiful silver hull, which had gleamed like stars, was now bent and burned. The engines that had crossed galaxies were dead forever. Thex-9 pulled himself from his seat. His crew members were checking for injuries. They'd been fortunate. Only 3 of 20 hadn't made it. "Tell me how bad it is," he called out. "The ship's finished, Commander." His engineer sounded defeated. "The quantum core is broken. The gravity systems are destroyed. Even if we had a proper shipyard, this is beyond fixing." Thex-9 wasn't surprised. The Craven Collective had torn them apart in their last fight. Those vicious creatures had weapons that cut through Zephyrian shields like nothing. "What about the self-destruct?" he asked. "I'll try, Commander, but with power this low, I can't promise it'll work completely." "Do it anyway. We can't let these primitive creatures find our technology." The engineer worked at his controls for long minutes. Finally, he looked up. "Commander, it's running, but only at 30% power. It'll destroy some things, but not everything." Thex-9 thought about it. 30% would have to work. Even if pieces survived, what could these simple humans do with them? They still used explosive rockets just to reach their own moon. They'd look at Zephyrian technology like cavemen staring at supercomputers. "Send the distress signal," he ordered. "Tell them we need pickup immediately." While they waited for rescue, Thex-9 walked through his dying ship one last time. The Void Whisper had been his home for 15 years. He'd explored unknown solar systems in this craft. He'd made peace with 6 different alien races. Now it would end its days as junk on a forgotten planet. The hallways were dark except for emergency lights. Entire sections had no power at all. In the labs, delicate machines lay smashed on the floors. The medical bay was flooded with coolant from broken pipes. The bridge, where the ship's quantum brain had once guided them through space, was now just dead screens. But even broken, the ship was a miracle of engineering. The hull was made from quantum crystalline metal that could repair itself with enough power. The engines bent gravity waves to push the ship faster than light. The computers were almost alive. Thex-9 touched a wall. Even damaged, he felt the faint pulse of quantum crystals trying to fix the ship. But without enough energy, they couldn't work fast enough to matter. 3 hours later, the rescue ship arrived. Another Zephyrian vessel, the Star's Edge, led by Captain Vel-12. "Thex-9, we got your emergency call," Vel-12 said as he appeared on board. "Command needs a full report on the Craven attack." "That can wait," Thex-9 said. "First, we get my people off this planet." They gathered in the transport room. Each crew member could only bring what they could carry. Everything else stayed behind. "Commander?" the engineer asked. "Shouldn't we take the quantum core? Even broken, its technology these beings shouldn't have." Thex-9 looked at the room. The core was the size of a building and weighed tons. Removing it safely would take days, and the primitive humans might find them any moment. "Leave it," he decided. The self-destruct damaged it badly. Even if they find it, they'll never figure out how it works. Time to go. One by one, the crew transported to the rescue ship. Thex-9 went last. Before activating his beacon, he took one final look at his bridge. "Goodbye, old friend," he whispered to his ship. The rescue vessel lifted away and disappeared into space, leaving the Void Whisper in its forest grave. But the wreckage didn't stay hidden for long. High above Earth, human satellites had watched the entire crash. Military bases around the world had tracked the falling object. And in a secret facility in Colorado, Dr. Sarah Chen was already putting together a special team. Dr. Chen was one of Earth's top experts in xenoarchaeology, the study of alien artifacts. She'd spent her career hoping for proof that humans weren't alone in the universe. Now that proof had literally fallen from the sky. How fast can we get to the crash site? She asked General Marcus Webb, who ran the military unit that handled unusual events. It's remote, the general explained. Deep in Canadian wilderness, about 200 miles from the nearest road. We can get helicopters there in 6 hours. What about other countries? The Chinese, the Russians. They saw it too, but they're calling it a meteor. We're the only ones who tracked it properly. We've got maybe a day before they figure out what really happened. Dr. Chen nodded hard. Then we move now. 6 hours later, she stood in the forest, staring at something that would change human history forever. The alien ship was enormous, at least 1,000 feet long and 300 feet wide. It had driven nose first into the ground, though most of it stuck up above the surface. The metal looked like nothing she'd ever seen. Even scorched and wrecked, it seemed to glow from inside. The ship's shape was smooth and flowing, like it had grown instead of being built. Dr. Chen, one of her team, called, "You need to see this." She followed him to a hole in the ship's side. Through the opening, she saw corridors lit by a soft blue glow. The emergency power still worked. "It's beautiful," she breathed. Her team spent the next 12 hours doing a quick survey of the craft. What they found amazed them. The systems were clearly centuries, maybe thousands of years ahead of anything humans had built. The ship's computers were still trying to repair damage on their own. The walls seemed made from some kind of living metal, and deep in the ship's core they found something incredible. Dr. Chen, "You have to see this right now," called Dr. James Rodriguez, her engine expert. She followed him deep into the ship to a huge room at its heart. In the center sat a device the size of a bus. It was clearly damaged, with cracks running through its crystal structure, but it still gave off a gentle light. "What is this?" she asked. "If I'm reading this right, it's the ship's engine, but it works nothing like any engine I've studied. No moving parts, no fuel. It seems to control gravity itself." Dr. Chen stared at the device. She was looking at technology that could change everything. Faster than light travel, unlimited clean energy, the ability to reach other stars. "Can we move it?" she asked. "It weighs thousands of tons, but with care, maybe. The real question is, should we?" Dr. Chen thought carefully. Moving it meant taking apart an alien ship. It meant studying systems that belonged to another race. Some might even call it stealing. But it also meant humans could finally travel to the stars. "Yes," she said. "We move it, we study it. We learn everything from it. And if the aliens come back..." Dr. Chen looked around at the glowing walls, at devices that could teach humanity to journey between stars. "Then we'll be ready for them." Over the next week, teams of scientists and engineers arrived at the crash site. They built a temporary base around the wreckage and began the careful work of studying every piece of alien technology they found. The ship's computers still worked partially. With effort, human programmers started translating the alien writing and accessing the ship's records. They learned that the craft belonged to a species called the Zephyrians, who were part of something called the Galactic Council. They also learned about the Craven Collective, the species that had destroyed this ship. The files showed them as a warrior race that conquered planets and enslaved other species. But most importantly, they learned that the Zephyrians thought humans were backward and unimportant. The ship's files labeled Earth as a primitive world worth nothing. This made Dr. Chen angry. The aliens had crashed on Earth and left their technology without even thinking about what humans might do with it. They assumed humans were too stupid to understand. "They're wrong," she told General Webb. "We can study this technology. We can build on it. We can make it better." The general nodded. "Then let's prove them wrong. I'm authorizing Project Lazarus. We're going to rebuild this ship. Commander, with respect, that's impossible. The damage is too severe. And even if we could fix it, we don't know how to fly it. Then we learn. And if we can't fix it exactly as it was, we'll build something better." Dr. Chen studied the massive alien craft. The task seemed impossible, but humans had done impossible things before. They'd gone from first flight to moon landing in less than 70 years. They'd built computers that could think and machines that could see. Maybe they could rebuild a starship too. "Where do we start?" she asked. General Webb smiled. "With the smartest people on Earth and the belief that humans can do anything when we put our minds to it." As teams of experts arrived from around the world, Dr. Chen stood on the alien ship's bridge. The displays were dark and the controls silent, but she could imagine what it must have been like when the ship was alive. Soon, she promised herself, it would be alive again. But it wouldn't be a Zephyrian ship anymore. It would be something new, something human, something the galaxy had never seen before. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in what had been the alien ship's main engine room. 6 months had passed since the crash, and the chamber now looked like the world's most amazing workshop. Human machines sat next to alien equipment. Welding sparks flew near devices that controlled gravity. Computer cables ran between quantum crystals that still pulsed with alien energy. "Give me an update," she called to her team. Dr. James Rodriguez looked up from a huge alien engine piece. His face was dirty and his hair stuck up everywhere. "The gravity engine is worse than we thought. The quantum field generators are completely destroyed, but I think I know how they work." "Show me," Sarah asked. James took her to a holographic display showing a 3-dimensional image of the alien engine. The display was human technology. The aliens never needed such basic visual help. "Look at this," James said, pointing to a series of crystal structures in the image. "These crystals create a field that makes the ship lighter than air, not by pushing against anything, but by actually changing how gravity affects the ship." "That's impossible," said Dr. Lisa Park, the team's materials expert. She'd come from the Navy, where she designed submarines. Now she was trying to understand metal that could heal itself. "No, it's not impossible," James argued. "It's just really advanced." The crystals vibrate at exact frequencies that interact with something called the quantum foam. "I don't fully understand it yet, but I can see how it works." Sarah nodded. This was the pattern they kept finding. The alien systems seemed impossible at first, but when they studied them carefully, they could start understanding the basic ideas. The hard part was building their own version. "What about materials?" Sarah asked Lisa. Lisa shook her head. "That's our biggest problem. These crystals are made from elements that don't exist on Earth. We've tried to make them artificially, but we can't create matter at the quantum level, so we can't build a gravity drive." "I didn't say that," Lisa answered with a smile. "I said we can't build their gravity drive, but maybe we can build something better." She led them to another work area where a strange device hummed softly. It looked like alien crystals combined with human superconductors, all wrapped in Earth's most advanced materials. "I took their basic design and adapted it," Lisa explained. "Instead of impossible crystals, I used our best superconductors arranged the same way. It's not as powerful, but it works. And because we understand the human parts, we can control it better." James stared at the device. "You built a gravity controller using Earth technology. Not just Earth technology, human innovation. The aliens designed their crystals to be perfect. Ours are built to be adjustable. We can change the frequency, adjust the field strength, even shut it off completely if something goes wrong." This was the breakthrough Sarah had been waiting for. They didn't need to copy the alien systems exactly. They could use human engineering to make them better. "What about the computers?" she asked Dr. Michael Park, their computer expert. Michael was a quiet, soft-spoken man who had spent his career building artificial intelligence. Now he was trying to understand how alien computers could think like living things. "The alien computers are incredible," he explained. "They don't just process information. They actually understand it, but they're also completely foreign. The way they think is so different from humans that we can barely work with them. So we can't use them? Not directly, but I've been building something different." Michael led them to a computer terminal that looked mostly human except for the alien parts built into it. "I've created a hybrid system," he explained. "Human programming interfaces with alien processing power. The alien computer does the complex math, but we decide what it calculates." He typed a command into the terminal. Instantly, the screen filled with complex equations about gravity field control. "Ask it to design a better gravity drive," Sarah suggested. Michael typed the request. Within seconds, the screen showed detailed plans for a device that combined alien ideas with human engineering. It was more advanced than anything either species had built alone. "Amazing," James whispered. "It's learning from both technologies and creating something completely new." This was the pattern emerging throughout Project Lazarus. The humans weren't just copying alien systems. They were improving them by combining them with human creativity. In the ship's medical bay, Dr. Emily Watson was doing the same with alien healing equipment. The aliens had devices that could cure almost any injury, but they were designed for alien bodies. Emily was modifying them to work on humans. "The alien medical scanners can see inside the human body in ways we never imagined," she explained to Sarah. "But their treatment plans assume alien biology, So I'm building hybrid devices that use alien scanning with human medical knowledge. She demonstrated by scanning Sarah's hand with a device that looked like a flashlight mixed with a telescope. The scanner showed every bone, muscle, and blood vessel in perfect detail. Impressive, Sarah said. How long before we can make these for hospitals? I'm already designing simpler versions. Within a year, we should have medical scanners that make our current equipment look ancient. Throughout the ship, similar work was happening. Human engineers were studying alien weapons and designing better human versions. Alien power systems were being combined with human energy grids. Even the ship's basic structure was being redesigned using a mix of alien materials and human engineering. But the most important work was happening on the ship's bridge. Commander Lisa Jiang was a military pilot who had been chosen to captain the rebuilt ship. She was working with a team of interface designers to create controls that humans could actually use. The alien controls are completely wrong for humans, she explained to Sarah. They were designed for beings with forearms and brains that work differently than ours. A human pilot would crash this ship in minutes. So what's the solution? Lisa gestured to the bridge around them. It still looked mostly alien, but human displays and controls had been added everywhere. We keep the alien systems for power and speed, but we add human interfaces for control. Look at this. She sat in what had been the alien captain's chair. With her changes, it now looked like the cockpit of an advanced human aircraft. The displays showed information in ways humans could read. The controls were placed where human hands could reach them easily. The aliens designed their ship to work perfectly, Lisa explained. But humans design things to be flexible. Our version can be changed, upgraded, and improved. When we're done, this ship will do things the aliens never thought of. Sarah was impressed by what her team had done in just 6 months. But she was also worried. The work was moving faster than anyone expected, and that was attracting unwanted attention. General Webb found her in the ship's lab section. His face was serious. We have a problem, he said. Satellite images show that other governments are setting up bases near our perimeter. The Chinese have 300 troops 50 miles south. The Russians have a research team 100 miles north. They know what we found. They suspect. And there's something else. Our radio telescopes have picked up signals from deep space. Someone's trying to contact Earth. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. The aliens. We think so. The signals are coming from the same direction the ship came from. Whatever species sent this ship, they know it crashed here. Sarah looked around the lab where her teams were making incredible progress. Human technology was advancing by decades every single day, but now it seemed like they were running out of time. How long do we have? She asked. Unknown. The signal started 3 days ago. If they're traveling here, it could be weeks or months depending on how fast their ships are. Sarah made a decision that would change everything. We need to speed up the project. I want teams working day and night. We need to get this ship flying before the aliens arrive. Sarah, that's impossible. You said yourself it would take at least 2 years to rebuild the ship. That was when we were trying to fix it exactly as it was. But we're not doing that anymore. We're building something new, something better. She called a meeting of all the project leaders. Standing in the alien ship's main hallway, she addressed the smartest minds Earth had to offer. We have a new deadline, she announced. 6 months. We need this ship flying in 6 months. That's impossible, Dr. Rodriguez protested. We haven't even finished understanding the basic systems. Then we'll finish understanding them while we rebuild them. We'll test as we build. We'll solve problems as they come up. The risk is huge, Dr. Park added. If we make a mistake, we could destroy the ship completely. And if we don't try, the aliens might come back and take it from us, Sarah countered. This is our chance to join the galaxy as equals, not as primitives who found someone else's broken technology. She looked at each of her team leaders. These were people who had dedicated their lives to pushing the limits of human knowledge. Now she was asking them to go further than anyone had ever gone before. I know it seems impossible, she said, but humans have done impossible things before. We went from the first airplane to landing on the moon in 66 years. We built computers that can think and machines that can see. We split the atom and decoded DNA. She gestured to the alien technology around them. This is our Apollo program, our Manhattan Project. Our chance to prove that humans belong among the stars. Are you with me? One by one, her team leaders nodded. They were scientists and engineers, but they were also human, and humans had never backed down from a challenge that seemed impossible. "Then let's get to work," Sarah said. "We have a ship to build." As her team scattered to their stations, Sarah stood alone in the hallway. Through the holes in the ship's hull, she could see the stars starting to appear in the evening sky. Somewhere, out there, aliens were traveling toward Earth, probably expecting to find their broken ship exactly as they had left it. Instead, they would find something that had never existed before. A ship built with alien technology and human determination. A ship that combined the best of both species into something greater than either could achieve alone. Sarah smiled as she headed back to work. The aliens had made a mistake when they underestimated humanity. Soon they would learn just how big that mistake had been. But first, humans had to prove to themselves that they could build a ship that could travel among the stars. The hardest part wasn't understanding alien technology. It was believing that humans deserved to use it. That belief would carry them through the next 6 months as they worked to achieve the impossible. Because if there was one thing humans were good at, it was proving that impossible was just another word for not done yet. The morning of the first test flight was cold and clear. Dr. Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck, watching her life's work prepare for its biggest test. The ship that had once been called the Void Whisper now had a new name painted in bold letters across its hull: Terra's Wrath. 3 years had passed since the alien ship crashed in the Canadian wilderness. 3 years of 18-hour days, impossible deadlines, and brilliant breakthroughs. The broken alien ship had been completely transformed. The ship still looked alien from the outside, but closer inspection showed the changes. Human-designed sensor arrays covered the hull. The engines were a mix of alien gravity control and human fusion drives. Most importantly, the ship now had weapons. Not copied from alien designs, but created by human military engineers who understood warfare in ways the peaceful Zephyrians never had. "Final systems check," announced Commander Lisa Zhang over the radio. She sat in the captain's chair, surrounded by displays that combined alien efficiency with human intuition. "Navigation systems online," reported Lieutenant Tom Mitchell, the ship's pilot. The navigation station looked nothing like the original alien controls. Instead of the confusing 4-dimensional displays the Zephyrians had used, the humans had created a system that any Earth pilot could understand. Gravity drive showing green. Across all indicators, called Chief Engineer James Rodriguez from the engine room, the gravity drive was perhaps their greatest achievement. Not a copy of the alien original, but a human version that was actually more stable and controllable. "Weapon systems ready," added Commander Sarah Kim from the weapon station. The ship's weapons were purely human. Energy cannons that used alien power sources but human targeting systems. "Life support normal," reported Dr. Emily Watson from the medical station. Even the life support systems had been redesigned for human biology. Sarah watched from the ground as her creation prepared to fly. The ship sat on the launch pad they had built in the Nevada desert, far from curious eyes. Around the platform, hundreds of engineers and technicians watched every system. General Webb stood beside her, his face nervous. "Are you sure about this, Sarah? We could run more simulations." "We've run every simulation possible," Sarah replied. "But simulations can't tell us how the hybrid systems will work in real flight. At some point, we have to take the leap." The general nodded, but Sarah could see his worry. If the test flight failed, they might lose everything. Worse, they might lose the crew, but they were running out of time. The alien signals from space were getting stronger. Analysis suggested that multiple ships were approaching Earth, and they would arrive within months. "Terra's Wrath, you are cleared for launch," Sarah announced into her headset. Inside the ship, Commander Zhang felt her heart racing. She had flown every type of aircraft the human military had. But this was different. This ship could travel faster than light. It could control gravity itself. It represented everything humanity hoped to become. "Starting launch sequence," she announced. The gravity drive activated with a low hum that seemed to shake reality itself. Around the ship, dust and small rocks began to float upward as the local gravity field changed. Dr. Rodriguez watched his displays carefully. The gravity drive was working perfectly, but this was the easy part. The real test would come when they tried to go faster than light. Gravity field stable, he reported. Ready for liftoff. Commander Zhang engaged the main controls. The ship rose smoothly from the launch pad, as silent as a bird. This was completely unlike human rockets, which roared and shook as they fought gravity. The Terra's wrath simply made gravity irrelevant. Looking good from down here, Sarah reported, all systems showing normal. The ship climbed quickly through the atmosphere. Within minutes, they were in space, looking down at the blue marble of Earth. It's beautiful, whispered Lieutenant Mitchell. He had seen Earth from space before in regular spacecraft, but somehow this felt different. They weren't visitors to space anymore. They belonged here. Starting faster than light systems test, Commander Zhang announced. This was the moment of truth. The faster-than-light drive was the most complex part of the ship. It required the gravity drive, the quantum computers, and the navigation systems to work together perfectly. Dr. Rodriguez watched the systems carefully. Quantum field generators online. Gravity wave controllers ready. Navigation computer has plotted a jump to the edge of the solar system and back, authorizing faster-than-light test. Sarah's voice came from Earth. Commander Zhang took a deep breath and engaged the faster-than-light drive. Reality twisted around the ship. For a moment, the stars seemed to stretch into lines of light. Then suddenly they were somewhere else entirely. The sun was now just another star in the distance. Jump successful, Lieutenant Mitchell shouted. We're 8 billion miles from Earth. The trip took less than a second. Inside the ship, the crew stared at their displays in amazement. They had just traveled further and faster than any human in history. But more than that, they had done it in a ship they had built themselves. Return jump in 30 seconds, Commander Zhang announced. The second jump brought them back to Earth orbit. Below them, the planet looked exactly the same, but everything had changed. Humanity was no longer trapped on one world. Terra's wrath to ground control, Commander Zhang reported. All systems worked perfectly. We are ready for extended flight testing. On the ground, Sarah felt tears running down her face. They had done it. They had taken broken alien technology and made it into something purely human. But the celebration was short-lived. General Webb received an urgent message during the landing procedures. Sarah, you need to see this, he said. The message was from the Deep Space Monitoring Station in Australia. They had detected multiple objects approaching the solar system at faster than light speeds. Analysis of the energy signatures suggested they were alien ships. How many? Sarah asked. At least 12 ships, possibly more. They'll be here within days. Sarah looked up at the Terra's wrath as it settled onto the landing pad. 1 ship against 12 or more. The odds were not good. But then she remembered something important. The aliens were coming to take back what they thought was their broken ship. They had no idea what they were really flying into. Far across the galaxy, Admiral Thex 9 stood on the bridge of his new flagship, the Star Destroyer Vengeance. Around him, the Zephyrian fleet prepared for a simple recovery mission. Admiral, we will reach the primitive world in 2 days, his navigation officer reported. Good, Thex 9 replied. I want to recover the Void Whispers technology and leave as quickly as possible. These humans are beneath our notice. His science officer looked up from her instruments. Commander, we're detecting unusual energy readings from the crash site. The humans may have tried to study our technology. Thex 9 laughed. Let them look. They might as well try to understand the thoughts of gods. Prepare the recovery teams. But as the Zephyrian fleet drew closer to Earth, their instruments began picking up readings that didn't make sense. The energy signatures from the planet's surface were far more complex than they should be. Admiral, the science officer said, her voice uncertain, I'm reading active quantum field manipulations. And Commander, I think there's a ship in orbit around the planet. Impossible, Thex 9 replied. These primitives barely have chemical rockets. Commander, the energy signature looks like one of our ships. But that's impossible. The Void Whisper was destroyed. Admiral Thex 9 studied the readings himself. What he saw made no sense. The energy patterns were definitely Zephyrian in origin, but they were stronger and more stable than any ship in his fleet. Increase speed, he ordered. I want to know what's happening on that planet. Meanwhile, on Earth, Sarah was coordinating humanity's response to the approaching alien fleet. The Terra's wrath was their only working starship, but it wouldn't be fighting alone. What about the orbital defense platforms? General Webb asked. They'll be finished in 24 hours, Sarah replied. It's not much, but it's something. The orbital platforms were another human innovation, They combined alien energy weapons with human military tactics. Each platform was basically a space-based fortress designed to protect Earth. And the ground-based installations are ready too. If any alien ships make it past our orbital defenses, they'll find that Earth isn't as helpless as they think. Commander Jiang approached them. Dr. Chen, I'd like permission to take the Terra's Wrath out for advanced combat trials. Absolutely not, General Webb said immediately. That ship is humanity's most valuable asset. We can't risk it in unnecessary tests. With respect, Commander, those tests aren't unnecessary, Jiang replied. We know the ship can fly, but we don't know how it handles in combat situations. When the aliens arrive, I need to know exactly what this ship can do. Sarah considered this. Jiang was right. They needed to understand the ship's combat abilities. But Webb was also right about the risks. Limited trials only, she decided. Stay close to Earth, and at the first sign of trouble, you come home immediately. Commander Jiang nodded and returned to her ship. Within an hour, the Terra's Wrath was back in space, running combat exercises that pushed both the ship and crew to their limits. What they discovered amazed them. The ship wasn't just fast and powerful. It was incredibly agile. The human modifications had made it more maneuverable than any ship the Zephyrians had ever built. The gravity drive lets us change direction instantly, Lieutenant Mitchell reported. We can speed up, stop and reverse without the crew feeling any force. Weapon systems are incredibly accurate, added Commander Kim. The alien power sources give us nearly unlimited shots, and the shields can absorb huge amounts of damage, Dr. Watson noted from her medical station. But the most important discovery was how well the human crew worked together. The alien ship had been designed for a species that made decisions slowly and carefully. The human version was built for a species that could think and react quickly in dangerous situations. Commander Jiang smiled as she put the ship through another series of impossible moves. The aliens had given humanity a gift when they crashed their ship on Earth. They just didn't know it yet. Terra's Wrath to ground control, she reported. Combat trials complete. The ship is ready for anything. On the ground, Sarah watched the approaching alien fleet on her displays. 12 ships against one. Those would normally be impossible odds. But the aliens were expecting to find their old ship broken and helpless. Instead, they were going to meet something that had never existed before, a ship that combined alien technology with human courage. Sarah smiled grimly. The aliens were about to learn that humans had taken their gift and made it into something far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. The approaching fleet represented a species that had conquered worlds and enslaved entire civilizations. But they had never faced anything like what was waiting for them in Earth's solar system. Soon they would discover that the most dangerous thing in the universe wasn't superior technology or overwhelming numbers. It was a species that refused to give up no matter what the odds. The alien fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of Earth's solar system, like predators emerging from the darkness. Admiral Thex 9 stood on the bridge of his flagship, studying the readings his sensors were giving him. Something was very wrong. Report, he ordered his science officer. Commander, I'm detecting 12 orbital defense platforms around the third planet. They're armed with energy weapons that appear to be based on our technology. That's impossible, Thex 9 replied. These primitives don't even have faster-than-light travel. Commander, there's more. I'm detecting a ship in orbit. The energy signature matches our records for the Void Whisper, but the power readings are 40% higher than they should be. Admiral Thex 9 felt a cold chill run through his body. The Void Whisper had been destroyed. He had watched it crash himself. There was no way these primitive humans could have fixed it. Are you certain about these readings? Yes, Commander. The ship is definitely based on Zephyrian technology, but it's been heavily modified. Commander, I don't think we're dealing with primitives anymore. Before Admiral Thex 9 could respond, his communication officer received an incoming signal. Commander, we're being hailed by the planet. Put it through. The main screen filled with the image of a human female in what appeared to be a military uniform. Admiral Thex 9 had studied human appearance as part of his mission briefing, but seeing one in person was still strange. They looked so young and fragile. This is Commander Lisa Jiang of the Earth Defense Force ship Terra's Wrath, the human said. You are entering protected space without permission. Please state your intentions. Admiral Thex 9 was too shocked to speak for a moment. The primitive humans were challenging him. They were demanding that he explain himself. I am Admiral Thex 9 of the Zephyrian Star Navy, he finally replied. We are here to recover stolen property. The ship you call Terra's Wrath belongs to us. Commander Jiang smiled, and Admiral Thex 9 didn't like the look on her face. It reminded him of the look Craven warriors had before they attacked. "I'm afraid you're mistaken, Admiral," she said. "The ship you abandoned here was considered salvage under galactic law. We have improved it considerably. It now belongs to Earth. You dare to claim ownership of Zephyrian technology?" Admiral Thex 9 shouted. "You are primitives. You have no right to technology you cannot understand." "Can't understand?" Commander Zhang's smile became wider. "Perhaps you should take a closer look at what we've done with your superior technology." The Terra's wrath suddenly appeared on Admiral Thex 9's screens, having moved from the far side of Earth to directly in front of his fleet in the blink of an eye. The move was impossible. No ship could speed up that quickly without killing its crew. "How did they do that?" his pilot whispered. Admiral Thex 9 studied the ship on his screen. It still looked like the Void Whisper, but something was different. The hull gleamed with new armor. Strange weapons covered its surface, and the energy readings were unlike anything in his experience. "Commander," his science officer reported, "I'm detecting massive gravitational anomalies around their ship. Somehow they've improved our gravity drive system." "Improved? That's impossible. Zephyrian technology is the most advanced in the galaxy." "Commander, the readings suggest their gravity drive is 3 times more efficient than ours." Admiral Thex 9 felt his world turning upside down. These humans had not just fixed his ship. They had made it better. "Admiral," Commander Zhang's voice came from the speakers, "I'm going to give you one chance to withdraw peacefully. Leave our solar system now, and we'll consider this a misunderstanding." "You threaten me?" Admiral Thex 9 could barely control his rage. "I have 12 ships. You have one." "Quality over quantity," Commander Zhang replied calmly. "But you're welcome to test that theory." Admiral Thex 9 cut the communication and turned to his fleet commanders. "All ships prepare for battle. We will destroy that ship and teach these primitives their place in the galaxy." But as his ships moved into attack formation, Admiral Thex 9 noticed something that made his blood freeze. The 12 orbital platforms around Earth were moving, repositioning themselves to create overlapping fields of fire. And more concerning, his sensors were detecting energy buildup that suggested the platforms were charging weapons far more powerful than anything his fleet carried. "Commander," his tactical officer reported, "the platforms are targeting our ships. Their weapons appear to be modified versions of our own energy cannons, but the power readings are off the scale." "How much more powerful?" "Commander, each platform appears to be carrying weapons that could destroy one of our ships with a single shot." Admiral Thex 9 stared at the tactical display. 1 ship and 12 platforms against his fleet of 12 ships. The odds had seemed overwhelmingly in his favor. Now he wasn't so sure. "Begin the attack," he ordered anyway. "Target the lone ship first." The Zephyrian fleet opened fire with energy weapons that could destroy mountains. Beams of concentrated power that had conquered dozens of worlds lashed out at the Terra's wrath and bounced harmlessly off its shields. "Impossible," Admiral Thex 9 shouted. "Our weapons can destroy anything." "Commander," his science officer reported, her voice shaking, "their shields are some kind of layered system. It looks like they've combined our shield technology with something entirely new. The shields are actually getting stronger as we fire at them." "What do you mean, stronger?" "Commander, I think their shields are somehow absorbing our energy and using it to power their own defenses." Before Admiral Thex 9 could process this information, the Terra's wrath returned fire. The human weapons were unlike anything the Zephyrians had ever seen. Instead of the focused energy beams the Zephyrians used, the humans fired what appeared to be packets of contained plasma that exploded with tremendous force. The first volley destroyed 2 Zephyrian ships instantly. "Evasive maneuvers," Admiral Thex 9 shouted, but it was too late. The Terra's wrath was moving in ways that defied physics, appearing in one location and instantly jumping to another. The human ship was everywhere at once, striking from impossible angles. Within minutes, 4 more Zephyrian ships were destroyed or crippled. "Commander, we have to retreat," his tactical officer shouted over the alarms. "No, we outnumber them. Continue the attack." But Admiral Thex 9's problems were just beginning. The orbital platforms around Earth opened fire, sending beams of energy that made his own weapons look like flashlights. 3 more of his ships disappeared in brilliant explosions. "Commander, we've lost 9 ships," his communication officer reported. "The remaining ships are requesting permission to withdraw." Admiral Thex 9 looked at his tactical display in disbelief. In less than 10 minutes, his fleet had been reduced from 12 ships to 3. The primitives had done the impossible. They had outfought the Zephyrian Star Navy. "How?" he whispered. His science officer looked up from her instruments with an expression of pure terror. "Commander, I've been analyzing their tactics. They're not fighting like any species we've encountered before." "What do you mean?" "Commander, most species fight to minimize losses. They protect their ships and retreat when damaged. But these humans, they fight to win regardless of the cost. Their ship has taken damage that would force us to withdraw, but they keep attacking." Admiral Thex 9 looked at the Terra's wrath on his screen. The ship was indeed damaged. He could see hull breaches and power fluctuations. But instead of retreating to safety, the human ship was speeding toward his remaining vessels. "They're insane," he breathed. "No, Commander, they're determined. And, Commander, there's something else. I've been monitoring their communications. This isn't their entire fleet." "What do you mean?" "Commander, they're referring to other ships under construction. According to their communications, the Terra's Wrath is just the first of several vessels they're building." Admiral Thex 9 felt the universe spinning around him. The humans hadn't just built one ship from his crashed vessel. They were building an entire fleet. "Commander, incoming transmission from the human ship," his communication officer reported. "Put it through." Commander Jiang appeared on the screen again. Her ship's bridge was filled with smoke and sparks flew from damaged equipment, but her expression was calm and confident. "Admiral, I'm prepared to accept your surrender," she said. "Surrender?" Admiral Thex 9 could barely speak. "You're demanding that I surrender? You have 3 damaged ships remaining. I have 1 ship and 12 platforms, all still fully working. The math is simple. But we are Zephyrians. We are a superior species. You are primitives." Commander Jiang's expression became cold. "Admiral, let me explain something to you. 3 years ago, we were primitives. We couldn't travel between stars. We barely understood how your technology worked. But we learned. We adapted. We improved." She gestured to her damaged bridge. "This ship isn't just your old vessel fixed. It's your technology combined with human engineering. It's stronger, faster, and more powerful than anything you ever built." "That's impossible, is it?" "Look around you, Admiral. Look at what we've accomplished in 3 years. You gave us a gift when you abandoned that ship on our world. You taught us that we weren't alone in the galaxy. You showed us that there were species out there with technology we could barely imagine." Commander Jiang leaned forward in her seat. "But you made one crucial mistake. You assumed that having advanced technology made you superior to us. You never considered that we might take your technology and make it better." Admiral Thex 9 stared at the human female on his screen. Everything he had believed about the natural order of the galaxy was crumbling around him. "What do you want?" he asked. "I want you to take a message back to your people," Commander Jiang replied. "Tell them that Earth is under human protection now. Tell them that we're not the primitives you remember, and tell them that if they come here again with hostile intentions, they'll face the consequences. And if I refuse?" Commander Jiang's smile returned, and Admiral Thex 9 realized it was the most terrifying expression he had ever seen. "Then you won't be taking any messages anywhere, Admiral." Admiral Thex 9 looked at his tactical display one more time. 3 ships against 13. His fleet was outgunned, outmaneuvered, and completely demoralized. "I accept your terms," he said quietly. "Excellent. You have 10 minutes to collect survivors from your destroyed ships. Then I want you out of our solar system." The transmission ended, leaving Admiral Thex 9 alone with his shame. The greatest military defeat in Zephyrian history had been delivered by a species they had dismissed as primitives. As his remaining ships limped away from Earth, Admiral Thex 9 tried to understand what had gone wrong. The humans had taken Zephyrian technology and somehow made it better. But how? The answer came to him as he watched the Terra's Wrath on his rear sensors. The ship wasn't just flying. It was dancing through space, moving in ways that showed perfect control and unlimited confidence. The Zephyrians had built their technology to be safe and reliable. The humans had rebuilt it to be powerful and flexible. Where the Zephyrians saw limits, the humans saw possibilities. But more than that, the humans fought differently than any species the Zephyrians had encountered. They didn't fight to preserve their ships or minimize casualties. They fought to win no matter what the cost. As Earth disappeared behind them, Admiral Thex 9 wrote his report to the Zephyrian High Council. It would be the most difficult message he had ever sent. The primitives were primitive no longer. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and they had announced their presence by defeating one of the galaxy's oldest spacefaring civilizations. The age of human expansion was about to begin. The Galactic Council Chamber was a massive structure that floated in space between 12 different star systems. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered here to discuss matters of importance to the galaxy. Today they were discussing the impossible reports coming from a small yellow star on the edge of known space. Ambassador Vel 8 of the Zephyrian Republic stood before the assembled delegates, his forearms shaking as he delivered the most humiliating report in his species' history. "Honored delegates," he began, "I must inform the Council of a development in the Sol system." The chamber filled with the various sounds different species made when they were curious. Clicking, chirping, and whistling echoed through the vast space. The primitive species known as humans have somehow acquired faster-than-light technology, Vel 8 continued. A delegate from the Alaran Empire, a species that looked like giant insects, buzzed loudly. "How is this possible? Our records show the humans have not even achieved interstellar travel." "The situation is complicated," Vel 8 replied. 3 years ago, one of our ships crashed on their world. The crew was rescued, but the vessel was left behind. "And they fixed it?" asked a delegate from the Crystalline Confederation. "Worse," Vel 8 said quietly. "They improved it." The chamber erupted in noise as hundreds of delegates expressed their disbelief in dozens of different languages. "Silence," commanded the council speaker, an ancient being whose species was so old they had forgotten their original name. "Explain how primitives could improve Zephyrian technology." Vel 8 activated a holographic display that showed the battle between Admiral Thex 9's fleet and the Terra's wrath. The assembled delegates watched in stunned silence as the human ship destroyed 9 Zephyrian vessels in minutes. "As you can see," Vel 8 said, "the humans did not simply fix our technology. They combined it with their own innovations to create something entirely new." "This is disturbing," the speaker said. "How do we respond to this development?" "The Zephyrian Republic requests permission to send a full battle fleet to reclaim our technology," Vel 8 announced. But before the speaker could respond, another voice spoke from the chamber's communication system. "I'm afraid that won't be possible." Every delegate in the chamber turned to look at the main communication screen. A human female in a crisp military uniform looked back at them. Behind her they could see what was clearly the bridge of a starship. "I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force," the human said calmly. "I believe you were discussing my species." The chamber erupted in chaos. How had a primitive species hacked into the most secure communication system in the galaxy? "This is impossible," Vel 8 shouted. "Our communication systems are protected by quantum encryption." "Your quantum encryption is based on mathematics we mastered 6 months ago," Captain Chen replied. "We've been monitoring this meeting since it began." The speaker managed to restore order to the chamber. "Human, by what right do you intrude upon this gathering?" "By the right of a spacefaring species addressing the Galactic Council," Captain Chen replied. "Earth formally requests membership in the Galactic Council." "Membership?" The speaker's ancient voice carried tones of disbelief. "You have been a spacefaring species for less than 4 years, 3 years and 7 months to be exact," Captain Chen corrected. "But in that time, we have developed technology that exceeds most council member species. We have defended our territory against unprovoked attack, and we have demonstrated our commitment to peaceful exploration of the galaxy." "Peaceful?" Vel 8 shouted. "You destroyed 9 of our ships. You attacked us without provocation," Captain Chen replied coolly. "We defended ourselves. If you consider self-defense to be aggression, perhaps you should reconsider your approach to diplomacy." The speaker studied the human on the screen. In his thousands of years of life, he had seen many species make their first contact with the galactic community, but none had ever arrived with such confidence. "Very well," the speaker said. "Earth's application for council membership will be considered. But first you must submit to standard evaluation procedures." "What kind of evaluation?" Captain Chen asked. "Technological assessment, military capabilities review, and cultural compatibility analysis," the speaker explained. "The process normally takes several years." "I'm afraid we don't have several years," Captain Chen said. "Our deep space sensors have detected a large fleet moving toward our territory. According to our analysis, they belong to the Craven Collective." The chamber fell silent. Every species in the galaxy feared the Craven. They were a warrior race that conquered worlds and enslaved entire civilizations. "The Craven are moving toward your system?" the speaker asked. "A fleet of approximately 50 ships," Captain Chen confirmed. "They should arrive in our territory within days." "Then you are doomed," Vel 8 said with satisfaction. "The Craven have never been defeated in battle." Captain Chen smiled, and something about that expression made every delegate in the chamber feel uncomfortable. We'll see about that, she said. The communication ended, leaving the council in stunned silence. Finally, the speaker addressed the chamber. I believe we should send observers to the Sol system, he announced. If the humans somehow survive contact with the Craven, we may need to reconsider everything we know about warfare. 3 days later, the Craven fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system. War Leader Gorth Prime stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Bone Crusher, studying the readings his sensors provided. Report, he growled. War Leader, we detect a single inhabited planet in this system, his tactical officer reported. 12 orbital defense platforms and 5 ships in the inner system. 5 ships? Gorth Prime laughed, a sound like grinding metal. They think 5 ships can stand against the might of the Craven. This will be over quickly. But as his fleet moved deeper into the system, Gorth Prime began to notice things that troubled him. The human ships were moving in formation, but not like any formation he had ever seen. They seemed to be dancing around each other in complex patterns. What are they doing? He asked his tactical officer. Unknown, War Leader. Their movement patterns don't match any known military doctrine. Gorth Prime studied the enemy fleet more carefully. The ships themselves looked strange. They appeared to be based on Zephyrian technology, but with significant modifications, and the energy readings were far higher than any Zephyrian ship he had ever encountered. War Leader, his communication officer reported. We are being hailed. Put it through. The main screen filled with the image of a human female. Gorth Prime had fought dozens of species, and he prided himself on reading the fear in his enemy's eyes. But this human showed no fear at all. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force, the human said. You are entering protected space without authorization. Please state your intentions. I am War Leader Gorth Prime of the Craven Collective, he replied. We have come to conquer your world and enslave your people. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. The human actually smiled. I'm afraid that's not going to happen, War Leader. This is your only warning. Withdraw from our system immediately or face the consequences. Gorth Prime couldn't believe what he was hearing. You dare threaten the Craven? I have 50 ships. You have 5. Quality over quantity, Captain Chen replied. But you're welcome to test that theory. The transmission ended and Gorth Prime turned to his fleet commanders. All ships attack formation. We will destroy these arrogant primitives quickly and efficiently. The Craven fleet moved into their standard attack pattern, a formation that had conquered 100 worlds. Their ships were designed for one purpose, destruction. Each vessel carried enough firepower to level continents. But as they approached the human fleet, something unexpected happened. The 5 human ships suddenly spread out, moving in directions that made no tactical sense. Instead of forming a defensive line, they scattered across space. What are they doing? Gorth Prime demanded. Unknown, War Leader. This is not standard fleet doctrine for any known species. Before Gorth Prime could respond, the human ships opened fire. The weapons they used were unlike anything the Craven had ever seen. Instead of the energy beams or projectile weapons most species used, the humans fired what appeared to be contained gravitational distortions. The weapons didn't just damage Craven ships, they twisted them into impossible shapes before tearing them apart. Impossible! Gorth Prime shouted as he watched 3 of his ships die in the first volley. Our armor can withstand any weapon, War Leader, his science officer reported. Their weapons appear to manipulate gravitational fields. They're not breaking through our armor. They're distorting space around our ships until the armor tears itself apart. How is that possible? Unknown, War Leader. The technology appears to be based on principles we don't understand. The battle continued, but it wasn't really a battle at all. It was a demonstration. The human ships moved through the Craven fleet like dancers, appearing in one location and instantly jumping to another. Their weapons struck from impossible angles, and their shields seemed to grow stronger the more damage they absorbed. Within 30 minutes, the mighty Craven fleet was reduced to wreckage floating in space. Gorth Prime found himself alone on the bridge of his crippled flagship, staring at the tactical display in disbelief. 50 ships reduced to scrap metal by 5 human vessels. War Leader, his communication officer called weakly. The humans are hailing us. Put it through. Captain Chen appeared on the screen again. Her ship's bridge showed no signs of damage, while Gorth Prime's command center was filled with smoke and sparks. War Leader Gorth Prime, she said formally. I am prepared to accept your surrender. Surrender? Gorth Prime could barely speak. The Craven do not surrender. Then you die, Captain Chen replied simply. Your choice. Gorth Prime looked around his ruined bridge. His crew was dead or dying. His fleet was destroyed. His entire worldview had been shattered in less than an hour. "I surrender," he whispered. "Excellent," Captain Chen said. "You will be taken into custody and returned to Craven space with a message for your people. Any future attacks on human territory will be met with the complete destruction of your fleets." As Gorth Prime was taken prisoner, he tried to understand what had happened. The Craven had conquered dozens of species using superior firepower and ruthless tactics, but the humans had defeated them using something entirely different. Technology so advanced it seemed like magic, combined with tactical thinking that was completely alien to Craven understanding. News of the Craven defeat spread across the galaxy within hours. The species that had terrorized the galaxy for centuries had been destroyed by a race that most civilizations considered primitive. In the Galactic Council chamber, the speaker called an emergency session. "The humans have accomplished something that has never been done before," he announced to the assembled delegates. "They have completely defeated a Craven fleet without losing a single ship." The chamber was silent as delegates tried to process this information. "Furthermore," the speaker continued, "our observers report that the human fleet consisted of only 5 ships. They defeated 50 Craven vessels with 5 ships and took no casualties." Bell 8 of the Zephyrian Republic stood shakily. "Honored Speaker, the Zephyrian Republic formally withdraws its claim to the technology found by the humans. We recognize Earth's right to that technology. Furthermore," Vel 8 continued, his voice barely audible, "the Zephyrian Republic would like to open formal diplomatic relations with Earth. We believe we have much to learn from them." The speaker nodded. "The Council hereby grants Earth full membership status, effective immediately. Captain Chen, please respond." The communication screen activated, showing Captain Chen on the bridge of her ship. But now the delegates could see that she was not alone. Behind her stood representatives from all 5 human ships. "Honored Speaker," Captain Chen said, "Earth accepts membership in the Galactic Council, but we want to make something clear to all member species." She gestured to her fellow captains. "These ships represent only the beginning of human space capability. We currently have 20 more vessels under construction, each one more advanced than the last." The chamber erupted in shocked murmurs. "But more importantly," Captain Chen continued, "we want the galaxy to know that Earth stands ready to defend any Council member species against aggression. The age of conquest and slavery is over. Any species that threatens the peaceful development of galactic civilization will answer to the Earth Defense Force." The speaker studied the human captain. "You would use your advanced technology to protect others?" "That's what civilized species do," Captain Chen replied. "They protect those who cannot protect themselves. They stand against aggression and oppression. They work together to build a better galaxy for all species." She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice carried across the galaxy to every listening species. "The galaxy has a new guardian now, and we will not allow the strong to prey upon the weak ever again." As the communication ended, the speaker looked around the chamber at hundreds of delegates from dozens of species. The balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted permanently. Humanity had arrived among the stars, not as conquerors, but as protectors. They had taken abandoned alien technology and forged it into something greater than its creators had ever imagined. The universe would never be the same. In the years that followed, human technology would spread to allied species, always freely given, never forced. The galaxy would enter an age of unprecedented peace and prosperity, protected by ships that bore the mark of human innovation and alien wisdom combined. And it all began with a broken ship abandoned in a forest, and the humans who refused to see limits where others saw only impossibilities. The aliens had indeed given humanity absolute retribution, not against Earth's enemies, but against the very concept that any species was too primitive to reach for the stars.